and welcome back to another episode. So, in my continuing attempt to diversify the kind of content that I'm making, this week I'm going to be talking about games I'm going to get round to. So, we all have a backlog. We've all got a big fat stack of games in our big fat stacks of collections that we just haven't got around to yet. Either we haven't got around to yet, or we haven't finished yet, or we want to really go back to and really touch base with these games that we really enjoy, but other stuff have just come up. Maybe we've been busy with life, maybe we've been busy with other games that have really caught our attention. I'm just going to kind of go through some, because my backlog is infinite. My backlog is always infinite. There is an infinite number of games I'm always looking forward to playing. So, yeah, I'm just going to start with a couple. These two are ones that I've played an extensive amount of, but they either have something that kind of made me stop playing, or they've got new stuff that I haven't got around to playing yet. First of all, Langrisser. I'm a big Langrisser fan, man. Like, I've only recently, over the last year, got into Langrisser. Particularly because of this. I haven't actually got Langrisser Mobile. I really should. I don't tend to play mobile games, but the guys behind it, I think are the same guys who made this, and this is very, very good. This is a very good port. Predominantly playing Langrisser 2. Langrisser 1 I have no interest in, strictly because it's just kind of a bog standard story. Not a lot happens from what I'm given to understand. The second game, on the other hand, despite having tropes I particularly hate in anime, this is a good example. The girl who's like, "Oh, I believe in you no matter what." The fact that you get to shove that in her face and you get to tell her to off is brilliant, and I'm fully on board with it. So, yeah, I'm a good chunk of the way into Langrisser 2. I still haven't finished it, and it's not a long TRPG either, or SRPG, or whatever it is, tactical or strategy. It's not a long one. It's about 18 hours. I've played way more in terms of triangle strategy than I have of Langrisser 2. I think that's more down to the art style and the general overall world building. But yeah, Langrisser 2. Definitely a game I'm going to get back round to. I might add that onto my immediate playlist, but we'll get around to that. Final Switch game yes, well, admittedly it's just two. The Deerfield Chronicle. This game came out last year, and it's probably the first year I've ever bought more than one. Well, 2022 was a weird year for me in terms of games. I've never bought so many Square Enix games, or had so many in my sights before. Admittedly, of the 4 or 5 I bought, I only really kept 2. Largely because I didn't like Live Alive too much. It annoyed me one too many times. I may pick it up again, but it's not super high on my list. The other one was my absolute game of the year last year, which was Triangle Strategy, and the other one was Deerfield Chronicle. They did an update back in March focusing on a character called Walter Quinn, who is a freaking psychopath. But she's a wonderful psychopath. She's completely and utterly insane. And the fact they went, let's make a whole DLC about her, fully on board. Fully on board. But I need to get around to playing this. I will. It's a good game. If you haven't played it, it's a solid 7 out of 10. And I think that's all the kind of major praise I could give it. But that doesn't mean it's bad. 7 out of 10 is still good. It's 5 out of 10 you need to start going, maybe. But there's always that weird thing in your head where it's like, it's only 7 out of 10, that means it's crap. No, it isn't. It could not be anywhere near crap. It is not crap. It is good. So, this game now is kind of representative of a whole bunch of games on the PS1 that I've been meaning to play, and that's a bunch of RTSs. Warcraft, KK&D Crossfire, Warhammer Dark Omen, Warhammer Shadow of the Horned Rat, Warzone 2100, Lego Rock Raiders a bit. Command & Conquer Red Alert. I'm going to pick up Retaliation. Stupid. Dune. This is the original... Well, not the original RTS. That goes to Dune 2 on the Mega Drive. But this is the kind of way to play that particular game. And you know, it's very good, and it supports the PlayStation mouse. I bought a PlayStation mouse deliberately to play this freaking thing. And you know what? It's really good. It's really, really good. But unfortunately, I've never really sat down with the PS1 for long enough to actually justify the sheer volume of games I have for the bloody thing. I have a lot of them. And I keep buying them, and I don't play it. Which is stupid. So this is definitely on my big old list of PlayStation 1 games to play. Okay, yeah. I hate the Xbox One. I hate it. It is a horrible console. And I had a miserable experience the 2 times I've owned one. That being said, I've been picking up some of the games again, strictly so I never buy them again. And if I play them, great. They're also for a couple of videos I have in mind about Halo and Gears of War. That's not what I'm talking about today. Crackdown 3. I love the Crackdown series. I love 1. I love 2. Even though 2 basically is just, hey, let's make it zombies and not as good. It's still fun. It was still a bloody good co-op experience. It was still a really bloody good co-op experience. I'd argue better than the first one in terms of co-op. But yeah, this one, I think, was the original developers. Well, it wasn't the original developer. Doesn't matter. Crackdown 3 is really solid. Even if the sole person you're going to be playing as is Terry Crews. Strictly because it's Terry Crews. I need to play that game. I need to play that game again. I picked it up for £1. Come on. Of course I need to play it again. Okay. This one I've had for around a year. And I've never played it. And it was freaking expensive. And I've ummed and ahed a bit over the year or so whether or not I'm going to get rid of this game. I still don't know. I probably won't, but that's strictly because it reminds me of Heavy Metal Geomatrix and Outrigger, and that is Spawn in the Demon's Hand. It's just kind of like... It's a weird Spawn game. I mean, I'm not a huge Spawn fan. I never really have been. Although it has... I bought this strictly because it had stickers on the back of it that for an old game shop chain that I used to frequent quite a lot in my hometown. I won't show it just because I don't want people knowing where I'm from. But yeah, that sticker's still on the back and it's possible to get off. But that's kind of fun. Anyway. I quite like the weirder side of the Dreamcast's library. I'm not the biggest Dreamcast fan in the world. I think it's its controller that really gets in the way for me. But this is definitely one of the games I've had my eye on for quite a long time. And it's pretty solid, from what I've heard. So I'll get into it. That's the point of the video. Okay, last 3 before I get into a big fat stack of games all for the same system because I really need to play that bloody thing. Wanted Dead. This is currently my game of the year. And it's a really bad pseudo PS3 looking PS3 era playing game that is ridiculous in 100,000 ways. If you saw my PS5 video last week, you'll know. And if you've gone and looked for this game, you'll know it's freaking strange. But it's really, really solid. I love this game, and I really need to finish it. So that's on my list. That is on my list of games to play when I finally get round to it, if I can be bothered. Which I will be. So, this game I've been looking for about... 5 or 6 years, maybe 8, longer. Dreamfall Chapters. Now, I really got into Dreamfall The Longest Journey on the Xbox. Which is there somewhere. Really got into it. Stopped playing it for a while, and then came back to it and had no idea what the hell I was doing. But I've been looking at this on and off kind of since they started development on it. It's kind of the final game in the trilogy. So that started with Longest Journey, way back in the 90s, which was a really weird looking point and click. Then you had an action-adventure game of sorts with Dreamfall, The Longest Journey. Then they finally came out and made Dreamfall Chapters, which I don't know a whole lot about, but I still want to play it. I still need to finish Dreamfall. You know, both. Dreamfall Longest Journey and Dreamfall Chapters are both games that I 100% need to play and will play. That's the point of the video. It is to point out stuff that I will get round to playing. Okay, this one's somewhat new. My wife gave it to me a couple months ago, just seemingly because. And that is Heir of Zendor for the Saturn. This is not a game you will find online, on YouTube, anywhere. Like, I found no gameplay, I found no reviews, no cutscenes, no buggery, nothing. And yet, it's a sequel to an obscure Japanese game called Gotha, which, funnily enough, I happen to have. I think I talked about this in my Saturn video a while ago, but yeah, weird game by Koei. And Koei, this was at the time where Koei was strictly a like a strategy game maker, when they were making stuff like, you know, not just Nobunaga's Ambition, they were making weird crap with bizarre stories that make absolutely no sense even when translated into English, and just, yeah. But 100% Heir of Zendor is on my list of games to finish. Maybe not finish, but certainly play. I haven't actually played it yet. My Saturn is in dire need of a laser change, so if anyone has time to do that, let me know. That would be fantastic. So we're going to round out here with about 6 games, and they're all for the Wii. I've never been a Wii fan, to be fair. However, it's a console I want to get into. It's a console it's kind of the only Nintendo console I've ever really been able to get really into, that I've owned for a long period of time. Which is a shame. And there's a lot of good stuff on there, but what's always got in the way for me is the bloody motion controls. What I'm hoping is that I'll be able to get around that by just putting up with it and hopefully getting a Wii Motion Plus, because I don't actually have one, which is stupid. I'll pick one up. Don't know when, but I will. Strictly for games like Red Steel and Red Steel 2. These games are bizarre in that this is overly ambitious, this is overly safe. And I watched a video from, I want to say Minimi, or Minimine. I can't remember his name on YouTube, who talked about both. And this one is an extremely overly ambitious game that fails to deliver on any capacity. These games are cheap as well. These are like £1. They're like £1 or a buck if you're American. And they're really unique. And you know what? I've never seen a game before or since that 100% would benefit from a VR port. Like, honestly. Who developed these? Oh, Ubisoft, there you go. Yeah. In fact, just strictly Ubisoft. Ubisoft developed both of these, and they are games. They are games, and they are games that aren't amazing, but would 100% benefit from being shoved into VR. I'd play that. If they're like, yeah, we're bringing out Red Steel Collector's Edition or whatever on the Oculus, then I'd be all over it. I think it'd be great. Okay, moving on. Moving on. More Wii motion focused stuff, and that is Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles The Crystal Bearers. I've played this ever so briefly for two reasons. Number one, you play as a character with control over gravity, or telekinesis, which... motion controls? Telekinesis? Yeah, okay. I've played it for maybe 20 minutes, though. That was the extent of my time with it, and that's because it wasn't like the GameCube version. Now, I think I've said before, I've had all the Crystal Chronicles games, except for my Life as a Dark Lord, but whatever. Which sucks. I wanted that game for years. Never got it, because I'm stupid. But, Crystal Bearers was the last one, prior to that re-release a few years ago, which I haven't got, for some very bizarre reason. But this one has always stuck in my mind, because it's not something you will ever see Square Enix make again. A really sort of super experimental game which has only the loosest of connections to a 4-player dungeon co-op crawling game and making it an action-adventure physics-based combat simulator. And you know what? That alone deserves more than enough attention. But yeah, on my list of Wii games to play, and there's a fat stack of those. There is a fat stack of those in the living room. There are so many. Like, I'd say at least a couple dozen. There's like 24 games just stacked up for me to play when I actually bother to plug the Wii in. Maybe I'll just plug in the Wii U. We'll see. And use that. Technically second to last game, because the other two are part of a series. But Nights into Dreams. Oh, Knight's Journey of Dreams. Sorry. Knight's into Dreams as well, actually. But Knight's Journey of Dreams. I'm not a big Knights fan. I think it's because I've never really been able to get on with it. I had it on 360, back when that was a thing, and you could buy that, which is nice. And is now gone, because Sega, of course. And I've got the Saturn original, and I've got Christmas Nights. So I've kind of got pretty much every form of Knights you can get, and every game in the series. I don't know. Oh no, I haven't got the PS2 version. I wish I'd get that, actually. I'll track that down. Anyway, this game's got my interest for two very specific reasons. Number one, it's an evolution of a formula that was weird to me on a cellular level. And I kind of want to see how that develops. In addition, it's got the Last Chow Garden in it. So if you don't know anything about Knights, it had this sort of virtual life, virtual pet sort of thing in it called Knightopians. They were basically sentient dreams. And naturally, this being a series worked on by, and a title worked on by Sega, they took that kind of virtual pet idea and in Sonic Adventure 1, made Chow. In Sonic Adventure 2, really developed Chow. Then Chow disappeared. And I don't think anybody knows why. Because they are the perfect replayability thing. You get people invested in them, and it's the reason people go back and play stuff like City Escape and, Pumpkin Hill and Radical Highway and maybe not the Ark, but still. They go back and play all of these because it gives them stuff to give to Chow. It then went full circle, and they added them back in. They added Knightopians in. And you make a little dream world that people used to be able to come and visit online because it had Nintendo Wi-Fi connection. And Nintendo's extraordinarily bad infrastructure back in the day. I've just noticed this has an arachnophobia warning on the back of it. I'll play this around my wife then. But that's fine. Yeah. I don't know. Knights has always had a charm for me that I've never really been able to get. I've never really been able to get into too much. And I'm hoping that will change with this. So we're going to end with a couple more games by Sega, both released on the Wii. If you don't know what these are, then that's sad. The Conduit 1 and the Conduit 2. I kind of really love conspiracy shit. Like conspiracy garbage, and using that as kind of an aesthetic, which the Conduit leans super heavily into. It leans super heavily into Area 51, it leans super heavily into that kind of aesthetic more so than genre. Because this is very first and foremost a alien conspiracy, alien invasion sort of story, and it's a game that relies very heavily on motion controls. The sequel does not. The sequel lets you use a normal controller, and you know what? Cool. It also ends with Abraham Lincoln and George Washington showing up in power armor and going, "Yo, we're here to help you fight the aliens from Atlantis." And people bitch about the cliffhangers from stuff like Shenmue. Where is the sequel to Conduit 2? What is going on with Sega? It's insane. And it's a shame because High Voltage haven't really been making anything like the Conduit since. I bloody wish they would. I'd murder for a new Conduit game. It'd be so good. And they're games I really want to get into because they're really fucking weird. And yeah. But that's it, guys. That's my, that's currently some of the games in my big fat backlog. Let me know in the comments below or in a video response. I know that's very, very 15 years ago, but let me know in a video response if you if you've got anything in your backlog that you're really aiming to get done. So yeah, that's it for another week. I will see you guys next week, and that's me signing off.